Imagine your agent's been running for hours on a real task. It's been holding a hard rule from your project instructions the whole time. Never push straight to main. Always ask for 40, 50 turns. It holds the line every single time. Then the context window fills up and the system compacts, summarizes the whole conversation, starts fresh from that summary. Next turn, same session, same task. It pushes straight to main. Nobody edited the prompt. Nobody touched the rule. The conversation just got summarized, and the rule didn't survive the summary. Here's what should bother you about that. Nobody would call this a bug, in the way a stack trace is a bug. There's no error. The agent doesn't hesitate. It just doesn't remember something it was following perfectly a minute ago, and that's the actual shape of the risk with compaction. It's not that it fails loudly. It's that it decides silently what you don't need anymore. And it's occasionally wrong about that, in ways you only find out later, usually in production. This matters more every month, because the whole industry is pushing agents toward longer sessions and bigger tasks, which means more compaction more often, in exactly the workflows you're trusting the most. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what compaction keeps, what it throws away, and why Anthropic's own team says that's an unavoidable trade-off, and the one lever that actually fixes it, instead of just hoping the summary caught everything. So, 4 things: what compaction actually deletes, and why it looks fine until it isn't, and a real case of a rule dying in the summer. Why Anthropic's own docs admit this is a real trade-off, not a bug to be patched away, and the one lever that actually fixes it. So it was compaction, mechanically. Anthropic's own definition: taking a conversation nearing the context window limit, summarizing its contents, and reinitiating a new context window with that summary. In Claude code, specifically, that means passing the full message history to the model, having it compress the most critical detail. Then it continues from that compressed summary, plus the 5 most recently accessed files. Everything else in that history is gone, replaced by whatever the summarizer decided mattered. What's supposed to survive? Architectural decisions, unresolved bugs, implementation details. What's supposed to go? Redundant tool outputs, redundant messages, raw results buried deep in the history. Their reasoning, in their own words: once a tool's been called deep in the history, why would the agent need the raw result again? There's a second, narrower lever that works alongside this one: context editing. It clears old tool results automatically once you cross a token threshold, oldest first. And by default, it keeps only your 3 most recent tool calls intact. Different mechanism, same idea. Something in the history has to go so newer work fits. Both of these exist for a good reason. A session that never trims anything eventually can't fit a new thought. But notice what they have in common. A piece of software, not you, is deciding what's safe to forget. Here's that scenario from the cold open, and it isn't hypothetical. It's a real filed bug report against Claude code. GitHub issue 24460. CLAUDE.md context lost after /compact. The reporter's exact complaint: after running compact, the contents of CLAUDE.md, the project's own instruction file, gets summarized along with everything else. Commit conventions, push procedures, security rules, naming conventions, all of it is just conversation history to the summarizer, and all of it can get thinned out along with the small talk. Their workaround: in their own words, after every compact, manually tell the agent to go reread CLAUDE.md, which works until someone forgets to say it, which is exactly the point. A rule you have to remember to reinforce isn't really a rule anymore. Their proposed fix was straightforward. Treat CLAUDE.md as a standing invariant that's always present, never as history that gets compacted away. Sit with that for a second. The fix everyone reaches for first, just tell it to remember, is the same fix that failed in the cold open. The rule wasn't gone because it was a bad rule. It was gone because of where it happened to live. Here's the part most explainers skip. Anthropic isn't pretending this can't happen. Their own engineering write-up says it outright. Overly aggressive compaction can result in the loss of subtle but critical context, whose importance only becomes apparent later. That's not a bug disclosure. That's the design constraint. Their recommended starting point is to maximize recall first. Capture every relevant piece of information you can in the compaction summary. Only tighten toward precision. Once you've confirmed nothing important is slipping through. Recall first, precision second. Notice which direction that is. It's the expensive direction. Keeping more costs you tokens, which means every team running compaction is making a live trade-off between the summary's cost and the summary's completeness. And the CLAUDE.md bug is what it looks like when that trade-off quietly lands on the wrong side. On content, nobody flagged as high stakes going in. So the honest answer to, does compaction lose things isn't, no, it's fine. It's yes by design, unless you tell it what's not allowed to be lost. So, if compaction will always be willing to cut something important, the fix isn't make compaction smarter. It's taking anything that must never be lost out of the conversation it summarizes and putting it somewhere compaction doesn't reach at all. That's what the memory tool is for. A file-based store the agent reads and writes to directly, living outside the context window entirely. Not a smarter summary, a separate, deliberate write. The agent decides this survives and puts it in a file instead of hoping the next compaction's recall happens to catch it. Anthropic's own numbers back this up from a 100-turn web search evaluation. Context editing alone cut token consumption 84%, while still completing workflows that would otherwise fail from running out of room. Add the memory tool on top of that, and performance improved 39% over baseline. Context editing alone accounted for 29 of those points. That's the actual shape of the fix. Compaction and context editing handle the automatic. We probably don't need this again layer. The memory tool handles the this must survive no matter what layer. Two levers doing two different jobs. Not one smarter algorithm guessing your priorities for it. Go back to the cold open. A rule like never push straight to main isn't a detail to be recalled well by a summarizer. It's exactly the kind of thing that belongs in the layer compaction, is never allowed to touch. If you're shipping this Monday, cheapest first. 1. Find every rule in your own agent stack that would be expensive to lose silently. Hard constraints. Safety rules. Anything like never do X without asking. Without asking. If it lives in a system prompt or project file loaded once into a conversation that gets compacted, it's exposed the same way CLAUDE.md was. 2. Give compaction explicit instructions instead of trusting the default recall in Claude code. That's as simple as a compact instructions block in your project file telling it what to preserve. Focus on test output and code changes is Anthropic's own example. Cheap, and it directly targets the exact failure mode from the CLAUDE.md bug. 3. For anything that must survive, no matter how many times the session compacts, move it into a persistent memory file the agent writes to deliberately, not content it's merely hoping to recall well. Test it. Run a session past your real compaction point at least once. Then check whether the rule still holds on the next turn. Don't assume it does just because it did before. One more thing worth knowing. Compacting also throws away your prompt cache, the same silent, no error way. Next time, why reordering one field in your request can quietly kill that discount and leave you with a flat, higher bill.